What's up, everybody? It's Rahgel, the other half of Two Guys, One Gamepad. It's October, Halloween month, one of my favorite months. It's been a minute since I've been on, have not done any content for the month of October. But I'm coming to you for hopefully the rest of the month with some stuff that I really enjoy talking about. We'll go from some of my favorite horror movies to some of the worst horror movies that I think have ever been made. We'll jump around on some different topics, but one topic that I'm bringing to you today is who do you think did it better? Who are the toughest? Who are the more badass protagonists in some of these iconic horror movies? We'll cover 4 main females, 4 main males. Now, yes, there are a bigger category when it comes to female protagonists to male, but these are the 4 that I want to put against each other to hear your kind of back and forth, which one you think did it better, who's the best of them all, and who is kind of just there. So we'll start out with, we'll go back and forth. We'll go to the male to the female. So we'll start off with Christy Cotton, played by Ashley Lawrence in the movie Hellraiser. This franchise, essentially, I know that Christy's not in all these movies, but this one being the very first Hellraiser in the series, I think is a big one. The way that she was portrayed in this movie, playing with the Rubik's Cube of Death, pretty much causing to unleash or open the portal of hell, essentially, for Pinhead to come through and, ensue with whatever chaos he throws out there. Which, if you listen to some of the past episodes, we've talked about Hellraiser. Now I have a very hard time watching this movie because of the meat hooks and how they latch onto people and everything else. Very tough movie to watch at a young age, which I was when I watched this movie. But watching it now, I still struggle with, like I said, because of the meat hooks that are tasked to change and come out and pretty much suspend the person and essentially rip them apart. But the way that this is done and the way that they go through the fight scenes and everything else and how she defeats everything, very well done. Not my favorite horror movies, but definitely one when it comes to some of the iconic ones. Hellraiser, Leatherface, Freddy, Jason. I mean, you can throw Ghostface in there as well within Scream. But this is another one that is up there for me when it comes to some of the more iconic horror movies. Now let's switch to the male side, and you tell me which one you think did better. I'm not doing a bracket as of right now. I'll get to that later on. But we will start off on the male side with Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th. Now, this is one that's portrayed by multiple different actors, Corey Feldman, John Shepard, and Tom Matthews. Throughout the series, you see Corey Feldman more as the child, getting older through this, having experiences. John Shepard also in another role. I think he only played in one of the movies, and I think Tom Matthews only played in one as well. But you see the progression of this character only being a protagonist a little bit in the movies, but you see him grow up and then tries to stop Freddy. He is helped quite a bit, so he's not really the main one that ends Jason, but I struggle to find any males for this, so he can almost fall in as an honorable mention. But the way that Tommy does a lot of stuff within these, and seeing him grow up to fighting, I just throw him in there because, again, like I said, I struggle to find a lot of males and more of the iconic ones that I like. But he doesn't fully defeat Jason by himself. He does do a lot, but he gets help as well. So yes, Tommy is one that we'll stick with in this lineup, but again, that's why it's the bottom of all these. The next female we'll go to will be, which one we'll go with? We'll go with Wendy Torrance, played by Shelley Duvall in The Shining. Very iconic movie. Probably one of the most iconic on a lot of lists that are out there. It's in the top 10 for me, not in the top 5. Definitely a very well done movie. Stephen King movie. Jack Nicholson plays the main antagonist in this one. A lot of people say, the book is so much better. No, it's not, because you have to read it. A lot of I don't read books. Yes, it's probably very well done, very well written, has a lot more story to it. But I like to sit and watch movies. I enjoy it. I don't have the time or the patience to sit and read a book. So this to me was one movie that was very well done. Wendy in the movie, you see the whole up and down the notorious iconic scene of Jack Nicholson breaking through the door with the axe as she's freaking out, screaming, the scream queens, the screaming going on in this one, and then the here's Johnny of Jack Nicholson busting through the door. Very, very iconic movie, iconic scenes. When it comes to horror movies, this one is brought up a lot. One that you will always see being one of the bigger ones. So, yes, Wendy has made the list on this one. Played by Shelley Duvall. Now we'll go back to male, and it will be Ash from Evil Dead, played by Bruce Campbell. One of my favorites. Not a horror movie throughout, very campy, very corny, but I love the campiness of the way these movies are made. That goes from Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and we're sticking with just this series of Evil Dead because, yes, there are more Evil Deads where the protagonist does change to female, but as a result of this list, we're sticking with Bruce Campbell in this scenario of Evil Dead. Guy has very, very, very quotable catchphrases of his boomstick to "yeah, baby," a lot of different things that are gone through with this. I love Bruce Campbell. That he's been cameoed in some of the Marvel movies, but within Evil Dead, the way that he goes through and fights a lot of the spirits, evil demons, and everything, his own hand. He has to fight his own hand throughout some of this as well. Again, very campy, very corny, but that falls in the wheelhouse that I love because it has the creepy moments to it, but also has the campiness, corniness to make it also very enjoyable and hard to not watch. Again, the rewatchability of these movies are great. Ash's character is great and very, very, very tough to beat when it comes to a male protagonist in a lot of these movies. Jumping over to the female side, number 3 of that will be Nancy Thompson, Heather in Nightmare on Elm Street, played by Heather Langenkamp. Nancy Thompson, everybody knows Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street movies. She was in almost every one of the movies up until, I believe it was New Nightmare, where they tried to introduce another possible daughter of Freddy, but it got away from the original story. Nancy was in multiple movies. She even reprised her role in the Freddy's Dead, or was New Nightmare. Yes, New Nightmare, where he was pretty much burned alive again, reprising the role of a movie that they were trying to make in that one. The way that Nancy does it, she fights him throughout multiple movies. She doesn't always play the one killing him, but has cameos throughout as she started it. In the first one, I believe she's in the second one, but in the first one, very iconic. You only see Freddy for maybe a few scenes, but the way that it's done, and she reprises her role later on in these movies. Badass woman, fights it very well throughout, the fight scenes of everything, and playing it very, very, very tough woman in these movies. So yeah, definitely, again, one of my favorites. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I will not put it at the top because there's a very, very, very iconic one that we will put there for the females. Was it the fourth? Are we at 4? I hope so. No, the third. Third one would be Martin Brody, Matt Hopper, and Quint in Jaws. Now, yes, it's a trio, but you're fighting a gigantic-ass shark. Like I said, the list of males is very, very tough to come by, but Martin Brody, played by Roy Schneider, Matt Hopper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, and Quint, played by Robert Shaw. You have these 3 guys out on a boat at the very end of the movie. fighting a gigantic ass shark. Now, you cannot have, this is probably one of the most, you should say, realistic style fights of, once we get outside of the spirit world within Evil Dead, or what is it, the Friday the 13th franchise of fighting Jason. More of the realistic, you're in the water, the ocean, the unknown, and this gigantic shark is killing everybody, where Martin Brody goes out because his son was eaten. You know, he's the beach patrol police and gets tired of seeing everybody eaten, attacked by these sharks, goes out, tries to kill the shark. You know, he's got the iconic death scene right before he kills it, the "smile, you son of a bitch," to where he pretty much shoots and blows his head up, blows the shark up. Very, very great movie. Great franchise in a way too. They are hard to make it difficult, or hard to change it too much when you have one antagonist in Jaws of trying to just pretty much go around, swim around and eat everybody. Same movies over and over, but the way that they're done very well. This is what first one is one movie that made it very tough for myself and other people to go swim in the ocean. Yes, nightmares, you know, Freddy Nightmare on Elm Street. Tough sometimes to fall asleep, but you're going to fall asleep eventually. But with Jaws, the unknown is always there. Very proven. There are sharks. You know, there are shark attacks. Very realistic and sticks to the manner of following a lot of how people are scared to eat in the ocean because of this movie. Now, there also are fears out there, but this movie did not help when it came to people going to the water. Scared the shit out of me. Didn't want to get in the ocean, had no desire to get in the ocean. Things have changed a little bit now, but still the fear of the unknown within the ocean. And that's one thing we can get into in another episode of what the hell's in the water. Now, going to one of, in my opinion, the most iconic female heroine protagonists in horror movies, be Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween movies. She is the scream queen when it comes to horror movies. I will say it that I think she's the most iconic, even above Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy. She is in, I believe, almost every Halloween movie. Very, very, very iconic. Plays it amazing. Even reprises her role in the newer movies that come out by different directors, writers, producers. She's stuck with it. She plays the role. She is the main one. Very, very strong woman in these movies. A badass in these movies. Fights Michael Myers. If I said Jason, I apologize. I think I did. Fighting Michael Myers in these Halloween movies. Just a badass. It's her brother she's fighting. The dude is unkillable. Killed multiple times. Killed, air quotes, multiple times throughout these movies. Again, not one of my favorites, but when you look at a scream queen, it is Jamie Lee Curtis. Badass. And hard to fight anything and say, yeah, there's a male role that's bigger than hers, but she is great in what she does and an amazing actress in these movies and a badass all around. Now, I will put her up as, you know, she does the franchise of Halloween, but trying to find a male role that is as strong as hers is very, very hard to find. And the only one that I can even think that would be a badass in what he has to fight in these movies is tough. But R.J. McCready, when it comes, and Kurt Russell in A Thing, great movie, one that a lot of people like. They tried to remake it. I didn't like the remake. The first original Thing was very well done, and one that I enjoy a lot, mainly because the way that the antagonist was done, the monster, whatever you want to call it, was done by hand. It's not CGI'd. A lot of these other antagonists in these horror movies, but this one was done by hand. The makeup in this movie the way that the whole movie was done and the acting in it, not the best. But Kurt Russell is a badass in other movies, but there's only one of these movies. Now, is he on the level of Jamie Lee Curtis? Hell no, nowhere near. And I'm having trouble, like I said, finding one that is anywhere close in a franchise. But Kurt Russell's role of RJ McCready is one that's very well done. He's a badass in the snow, freezing his ass off, trying to figure out what to do, fighting all these creatures, fighting them off, and essentially fighting this gigantic, pissed off, humanoid, weird monster at the end. And it's a great movie. One of my top 10, not my top 5s, but probably one of the most badass next to Bruce Campbell as Ash in Evil Dead. So even putting those two together still cannot beat Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween's. But like I said, this is just a quick episode, quick show, quick whatever you want to call it, of these 4 females against these 4 males. Who do you think did it better? Who do you think's the bigger badass? And I will definitely listen to any arguments of anyone else that you think outside of this list is a bigger badass than Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween franchise. Let me know in the comments about who you think did it better. If you agree or disagree with this list, but also this list can grow. Yes, there are more, but these are the main 8 that I can think of. But let me know what you think, and we'll definitely argue it, dispute it in any way you want to. Also, if you want to come on the show on 2 Guys, 1 Gamepad, talk about this with myself and Sig, please reach out, let us know. We're willing to talk to anybody, everybody about this stuff. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so now that we've rated the best male and female heroines in these movies, let's go ahead and rate the antagonists or villains in these movies. Now, this is going to be my list and strictly only my list. Come at me in the comments if you want, but these are just ones that, how I feel about them and how we go from there, we'll see. But you may already know, by the way I've talked about some of the films, where they're going to land. Maybe not, we'll see. But at number 8, we're going to put Jack Torrance from The Shining. Power for him is telepathy, able to control stuff. So, to me, yes, great movie, great character, Jack Nicholson alone, amazing actor, but just the character itself when it comes to villain, terror, horror style movies, it didn't really do it for me a whole lot. I'm not into a whole lot of the supernatural stuff, so that one kind of falls on the farther end of the bottom for me at number 8. So, it is what it is. Like I said, we'll talk about it if you want. But number 7, Michael Myers. I'm not a huge fan of Halloween movies. Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis is Scream Queen and everything, but Michael Myers is one that kind of gets me as a boring character. Now, he does have another one in this list that you obviously can tell is already going to be higher than him. Similar powers or style, normal, walk slow slasher, but just the way that he looks with the William Shatner mask and everything else and the jumpsuit. Not a movie that really got me as much. Yes, it does have its jump scares and everything else, and is one of the top slasher movies. But when it comes to the character and everything, I wasn't a huge fan of him. I definitely think that they could have done better with it, but just this one of those ones that just kind of fell short for me. But yeah, number 7 for Michael Myers with your typical slasher style powers, strength, able to go 1,000 meters in a split second and show up around a tree like everybody else, or bust through walls and essentially not die. Number 6, the final monster in the Thing. Now, I won't go every single monster in the Thing. I will go the final monster in the Thing, the big badass weird necked long monster. Definitely a huge thing to deal with in that movie. The way that movie was done, yes, it's old, and I'm not talking about the remake or anything else, just the original Kurt Russell back in the day movie. But one movie that I enjoyed the monster, and I think is a little bit lower because of just how the monster is, just a big ass monster, strength, everything else. Yes, it does endure the bodies that it has and uses those bodies to do things, but mainly just talking about the big monster at the end. And this is no knock on the CGI or lack of CGI. The makeup, which was amazing, how everything was back then, was done spectacular. I loved it, and that's how I would like to see more movies done that way. But this monster alone struggles to kind of build up in my mind as a big character that kind of scared me more than anything else. So we'll put him right on that 6. Tell me now. Start at top 5. Number 5 is the Kandarian demon within Evil Dead that Ash fights. Be it the campiness and everything else, but this is another one. Like I said, I don't do sci-fi style possession, stuff like that, but this is one that you do tend to see more of like a demonic side to it, but I do like how it's done, and the way that the characters are possessed in this movie is way on the darker side, and something that gives me more than just the style and the Shining and everything else, but it's just a different style, and maybe just the way the movie's done. I love the way it was done. The characters that's trapped in the floor, the way that they're looked. And again, this is all makeup and how everything's done as well. But that character jumped around and did this whole thing of possessing multiple different things, and it was just very well done, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, number 5 for the Kandarian monster. Number 4, Jaws. I mean, it's a gigantic ass shark. There's nothing really to say. It has no power, nothing else. At points, it probably won't die, but it comes back. It gets blown up, comes back. But I guess you take it as your in the water slasher. But it's one that definitely scared the hell out of me and made me not want to get in the water. And I think at number 4 is probably a good spot for it. Not like it's a huge monster to deal with or anything like that, but is a big ass one that you cannot just go in and fight. You have to be in the water, so you're stuck either on a boat, in a submarine, which a big ass shark in a submarine isn't going to work very well. You cannot get in a cage because he's big enough to just bite through a cage or mess it up enough to where you're not going to be able to get out of the water. So I think that's one big thing too, is trying to fight this monster or shark, however you look at it, is definitely difficult because you have only one way to do it, because you're not going to be able to draw it onto land, and you can't just go in the water and pick it up or catch it in that manner. You have to tactfully figure out how to get him to come to the surface or get to a spot under the water and try and do damage. So it's definitely difficult on that side, trying to fight Jaws in the water. So put Jaws at number 4. Number 3 is Pinhead, being another demon that does have possession in a way as well, or teleportation, can mimic or transform into anybody as well. He is immortal, and he also does the summoning of chains to essentially either keep anybody from moving or rip them apart. And he also has the Cenobites that he runs or leads by his side that he can have with him as well. But just the way this character looks, Pinhead is in my opinion, very iconic. Never have I seen anything like him, along with other slashers that are on this as well. But it's the same thing with Michael Myers, one of its own when it started. But Pinhead is one that very, very well done. The actor that played him, and it's slipping my mind of his name, but he played him very, very well. And the way these movies are done definitely had me on the edge of my seat, because it was tough to watch it because of how gory it was and how it got in your head of like, this would get me. And the hooks, I think, are a lot more. They got in my head. I talked about that earlier. Just the hooks getting me. It's tough. But Pinhead at number 3, really, really loved it, enjoyed it. I have not seen the newer ones, and I kind of don't want to, because I don't want to sully any of the past Pinhead stuff. So I stick with that of the past, but I will watch them eventually. So, but Pinhead at number 3. Number 2, Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. Again, typical slasher style, almost immortal. I mean, he's been blown up, drowned, burned, shot, everything. I'm behind a ski mask, not the guy behind a William Shatner mask, like Michael Myers. They are kind of in the same boat as being almost the exact same. Most are like a moving force that can't be stopped. One wields a knife, being Michael Myers. The other one wields a machete. Majority of the time, not all the time. Same with Michael Myers, but Jason has a machete that he uses as well. And dealing with a lot more stuff of bullying when he was drowned and teased and all like that, going after everybody at Camp Crystal Lake, opposed to Michael Myers, who was in an insane asylum and pretty much is just a crazy person that does not feel pain or dies, essentially. So, I mean, the guy's running on apparently adrenaline and doing what he does, running amok on everything. But Jason Voorhees is one that I'll put at number 2. And if you can't tell by what I'm wearing, you can probably figure out who number 1 might be from the movies we talked about. Freddy Krueger, one of my all-time favorites, like I said before. He also has campiness to his movies, but at the same time, everybody has dreams, everybody has nightmares, and it's almost one you cannot avoid. You're going to go to sleep, regardless of what anybody tries to say of, oh, I can stay awake for so many hours or whatnot, and you're eventually going to pass out. You're eventually going to go to sleep. Now, if you remember the dream or not, that's a different story. Some people say they don't dream. That very well could be true. I dream quite a bit and a lot, and I know when I was younger watching these movies, I had a lot of night terrors growing up, and that was one that definitely got me. Not it was about Freddy like that, but just night terrors of falling, rushing around, moving really fast, and you just wake up in cold sweats and screaming essentially when I was younger. But it made it very, very easy to get scared by this movie. Back in the day, now watching it now, obviously nothing is going to get you like that. But being young, watching these movies, you're like, fuck, if I go to sleep, I'm going to find this fucker, he's going to kill me. But yeah, he's just, the way he's done, and yes, he just walks around in his bowler hat or whatever the hell it's called, with essentially knives on his hand. But he does have some very, very well quips that he says in his movies. Robert Englund plays Freddy very, very well, and is one that is also very well known within the horror community. Robert Englund is an icon. Same with Kane Hodder, who plays Jason Voorhees, and I cannot remember who plays Michael Myers, but those three alone are very iconic within this realm. Same with whoever plays Pinhead. I can't remember his name either, but those four, and there's others that are there as well. Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Leatherface, many, many others. But Freddy was number 1 for me. Some honorable mentions that we'll go through as well is as far as the antagonist. We won't go back into male, female, heroine. But some other ones we will cover and talk about later on. Leatherface being from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Pumpkinhead character is another one that's very well done. Hatchet. Now, that's one that a lot of people have not seen or don't know anything about. That's Hatchet is played by Kane Hodder, also, who plays Jason Voorhees. Another slasher-style, demented face, almost like a Hills Have Eyes style character. But it's also very well done and almost has a Jason, Michael Myers feel to the movie. Definitely, if you haven't seen Hatchet, go check it out. Victor Crowley is the name of that monster killer, what you call him. Because there's quite a few Hatchets, and there's one called just Victor Crowley. They do get kind of campy as well, and there is a recurring actor in there who dies and does come back in multiple movies. I think he plays, it's his brother or a cousin or something like that. But the campiness in some of these movies are very, very fun, very entertaining. Check that one out if you have not seen it. Trying to think if there's any other ones that are out there. I know there are some. Tremors is one that I don't know if I consider it a horror movie, but it is one that will fall in line with a lot of the intense thriller style ones. You know, it started with Kevin Bacon in that, and very very fun movie. The graboids, as they call them, they're pretty much gigantic worms that go underground and pop up and eat people. They learn off of motion. You know, that's how they sense everything. But yeah, those are some ones that are more honorable mentions for horror movies, and I want to just kind of bring them up because we will talk about them in another episode. But it's definitely one to look at, check it out, and again, if you disagree with my list, perfectly fine. You want to talk about it? Come on show, talk about it. Perfect, no problem. We'll talk about it. If you rank them differently, be it the male female heroine or the antagonist, the villains, in a different order, let me know. Let us know. Let myself, Sig, whatever. Well, we're excited to see what you guys think about this one. Again, I just threw this one together just to have an episode, and we'll get into other ones later on. But make sure to check out our merch store. Check us out Thursday nights. Sig and I, and occasionally another player, Lance, play a lot of Warzone Thursday nights. Yeah, check us out on all of our respectable platforms. I'm on Twitch. Sig is on YouTube, fucking Twitch, Kick, anything else he can get himself onto. Yeah, check us out and let us know what you think about the list. Till then, bye, bitch.